Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Commerce Next co-founder Veronica Sansev. Thank you so much for joining us today. For any new participants, Commerce Next is a community, event series, and conference for marketing, e-commerce, and technology leaders at retail and direct-to-consumer brands. And on behalf of my fellow co-founders, Scott Silverman and Alan Dick, I want to welcome you to today's webinar. Our topic is Win the Holiday Rush, create unified shopping experiences that customers can't resist. Now, to provide some context on this, eMarketer projects that consumers will spend 1.35 trillion during the 2024 holiday season, which is up 4.8% from last year. And we know that most consumers shop both online and in store when making holiday purchases, which makes it critically important to deliver a seamless customer experience, regardless of the channels our customers choose to shop. So today we're going to delve into best practices for unified shopping experiences. We'll discuss the digital features that make in-store shopping more memorable, how to unify the shopping experience, and the role of mobile. But before we dig in, I want to walk through a few thank yous and announcements. All right. So first, I want to thank Commerce Tools and EPAM. It has been a pleasure to partner with them on this webinar. I also want to thank our amazing speakers, Trang, Vice President of Omni at Tapestry, Jill Gorman, Head of e-commerce at Experience Samsung Electronics America, Kent Zimmerman, VP of e-commerce and marketing technology at Shoe Carnival, Matt Dunphy, Lead Solutions Engineer at Commerce Tools, and Linda Sasso, Senior Director Digital Engagement at EPOC. I also want to thank our team, Maeve, Robert, Scott, Alan, Tracy, and Jenny, who've been working behind the scenes to make this webinar a success. And finally, I want to thank you, our audience, for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here with us. Now, we have another webinar next week, October 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time. That topic is modern customer journey strategies and trends that are increasing conversion. The webinar features speakers from TikTok, FabFitFun, J. Crew, and AB Tasty. Maeve has put a link in the chat. You don't want to miss it. We're going to go deep on social commerce next week. And of course, if you haven't done so already, please save the date for the 2025 Commerce Next Growth Show, taking place June 24th through 26th at the New York Hilton Midtown. Our team is going to be sharing a link in the chat for early access. You want to sign up as soon as possible because we're going to be releasing our VIP tickets in mid-October and you don't want to miss that opportunity. Now, if you missed any of our past webinars or any of our sessions from the summit, we have a wealth of information on our YouTube channel. It's really worth checking out. Just go to youtube.com/commercenext. And of course, don't worry if you miss anything. We record this webinar. We'll make it available tomorrow. I'm going to quickly show you where everything is on the screen, and then we'll get started. So first of all, the main panel for interactivity is on the right of the screen. There you'll see 4 tabs. Chat is where you can tell us where you're calling in from. Hint, hint, hint. You can give our speakers high fives and interact with other audience members. But if you have a question, we encourage you to use the QA tab. And that's because the QA tab has some additional functionality like the ability to upvote questions. So I know what's most important to you and can ask our panelists. And to encourage you to ask questions, we are offering another Bonfire 2.0 Solo Stove to one lucky live webinar attendee whose question is selected for the panel. We love questions. So the Bonfire is a nice gadget to have if you love the outdoors, you want to make the most of the cooler weather. The giveaway is available to qualified participants in the US and Canada. And each question that is asked gives you a chance to win. So please ask questions and good luck. And then just quickly, the other 2 tabs, we have the polls. Later in the webinar, we'll have audience polls. The polls pop up on your screen. But if you want to see the results, you just go to the polls tab and you can see the tally of the results. And then finally, the handouts. We have the presentation from today, as well as 2 case studies from Commerce Tools available in the handouts. And for anyone who is watching on replay, those handouts are available at the bottom of the player. So today's agenda, we have a presentation by Commerce Tools on unified commerce. We have the audience polls right after that, and then the panel discussion with Tapestry, Samsung, Shoe Carnival, Commerce Tools, and EPAM. So, without further ado, it is with great pleasure that I get to introduce Matt Dunphy, Lead Solutions Engineer with Commerce Tools. Matt, welcome.
Thanks so much, Veronica. So, as you just heard, I'm Matt Dunphy. I've been working in e-commerce for nearly 2 decades, starting out in integration and implementations, um, and then more recently taking on a role in solutions engineering. As a lead SE at Commerce Tools, I get to have a lot of in-depth conversations with people in charge of doing interesting things across a variety of verticals for B2C and B2B brands of just about all sizes. Today, I'm going to draw from those conversations as well as from the experiences our customers have had and talk about some of the things that I've picked up on from companies that found success in using technology to not only differentiate their experiences, but to continue to grow their business. Now, whether I'm talking to a small team of engineers looking to move off a homegrown platform to better support new shopping experiences, or board members at a multi brand global company making important decisions about how to modernize and unify the technology powering different logos across different continents, there are patterns that I picked up on when it concerns the problems they're trying to solve for and the direction they want to move in. In particular, I hear the word unify a lot in this job. That gets applied to technology, it gets applied to organizations within a business, and it gets applied to data. By unifying and simplifying the way commerce takes place, it becomes easier to open up new channels to sell into. You reduce the amount of toil it takes to create interesting new ways of selling. And when you supercharge your mobile approaches with the full power of an enterprise commerce platform, all of these things will help you rise above the limitations of cookie cutter platforms that were always sort of meant to be just a website for a store selling one type of product. As rapidly as technology changes, it can be a struggle for existing businesses to take advantage of new opportunities for a variety of reasons. Where a small startup might be able to be nimble enough to take advantage of marketing gaps in more traditional B2C retail operations, the technology that helped the big players expand online a decade ago might not be well adapted to today's shopping expectations. But those that have made the investment to give their customers a more unified experience have seen that effort pay dividends. As customers have access to a global economy, they have options for anything they shop for. And that's why 83% of customers find the experience that a company provides is at least as important as the actual products and services that they're looking for. A report by McKinsey found that a majority of customers research both online and in store. And I've heard that, especially in apparel, furniture, and grocery companies that I've spoken with. Speaking of grocery, curbside pickup and buy online, pickup in store obviously saw a huge surge during the COVID pandemic, and more customers have developed an expectation around that kind of capability today. Another word I hear all the time is omnichannel. It's not a new concept by any measure, but executing on that concept can be a challenge if you're still using tools that were invented before Instagram was a thing. Some benefits to enabling and building with an omnichannel approach are pretty well known at this point. Just being able to show localized inventory and pricing on the website can be a big win, giving customers more confidence with shopping in store, where they're more likely to walk out with more than they had on their shopping list. Having universal access to that data reduces the barriers to building new capabilities, whether that's in store, on social networks, or your mobile experiences. And by creating a fast, unified source for this data, you're cutting back on the duplication of effort and sometimes even eliminating redundancies and inefficiencies within your portfolio of technology, ultimately reducing your total cost of ownership. Maybe you've already started down that path. Maybe you've done well. Maybe you've stumbled, or maybe you're still trying to get an internal approval for what can look like a pretty daunting change. Now, I get this question all the time. What do we do first? And I can tell you where I commonly see businesses start that move towards a more unified selling organization. What I've seen over and over again is that you start with your product information. Getting that product data, including inventory and pricing, into a centralized system that moves fast and connects with anything is the key to unlocking better customer experiences, BOPIS, curbside, ship to store, regional pricing. All of that becomes available across your website, apps you've got for mobile, to customer service folks in store, and even in other marketing motions that can now better target customers. Speaking of customers, bringing them into that unified view is the next natural step. Information that CRM software may traditionally have hidden behind lock and key can now be surfaced at the customer's view, so you can go beyond a birthday coupon and begin to deliver more tailored shopping experiences that lead your customers more quickly toward the things they want to buy. With these key elements brought out of isolation, you can build faster and do more interesting things. Take Harry Rosen, for example. They're a trusted Canadian luxury men's clothing retailer, founded in Toronto about 70 years ago with stores and outlets across the country. Once they migrated to Commerce Tools, the easy access to customer and product data led to a 35% increase in new and innovative features. Now, at Express, one of the benefits of taking a unified to approach to their omni-channel operation was also that burst of speed bringing new features to the market. A little background on Express. With over 500 retail and factory stores in the US and Puerto Rico, they also sell on express.com, on iOS, on Android, and feature in-store online ordering online and shipping from store, BOPIS, buy online, pick up curbside. With their omni-channel strategy designed to unify how they sell, they are able to rapidly release new features, endless aisle, adding Klarna for payments, and improved take on their BOPIS feature, as well as a significantly improved product detail page. With fast access to rich customer data, they rebranded and restructured their loyalty program and integrated Stylytics, an AI-driven outfitting tool, throughout their site. Never mind 2-week sprints, features at Express get released several times a week. We've established that having a reliable source of current product and customer information makes for a better shopping experience on the website. It's also natural to tap into this information from your mobile shopping experience, whether that's a native app on Android or iPhone, a point of sale running on a tablet, or even just designing your website to be a PWA or progressive web application. When thinking about how you approach mobile selling, don't restrict yourself to what that looked like a decade ago. With that rich foundation of unified commerce functionality, you can unlock new revenue streams and find new customers without reinventing the proverbial wheel along the way. One company that I've seen benefit from building a better mobile experience is Chronext. They're a global reseller of luxury watches, a vertical that certainly caters to a discerning market. By creating an app-like experience for their site, they reduced work being put into their mobile native apps and saw a 300% increase in site performance when they built a PWA. Region-specific product listings in a zippy site helped boost their SEO rankings by 40%, which translated to a 10% increase in conversions. When a customer visits your physical store, they're entering your world. When you're building a mobile experience, you're in their world, and you're competing against everything else for that person's attention. And the more options you bring to the table, the better the chances are of you holding that attention. In the past, it was challenging to tie mobile shopping into the same systems powering the website, let alone what associates in store had access to. Brands sometimes offered a fraction of their catalog, sometimes more of a lookbook, really. And there was no real natural incentive to let something like that take up space on your phone. But when you get away from thinking like a website, and when you use technology to deliver rich data quickly, you're better equipped to give your customers a reason to check up on what you've been up to, and you're helping to create a loyal customer. Now, known as Australia's fresh food people, Woolworths is Australia's largest supermarket chain with a vast range of products, including food, home goods, personal care goods. And in 2022, they decided to launch an iOS and Android app to serve the growing opportunities in on-demand grocery delivery under a new brand called Milk Run. Off of a single Commerce Tools project, customers across Australia can now order groceries and liquor rapidly across over 400 stores at launch, expanding into hundreds more in the months after. Their chief product and technology officer, Venki Kumar, had said, Commerce Tools' modular and flexible architecture enabled that seamless addition of our new grocery app while leveraging the scalability, resilience, cost efficiency, and security benefits of our cloud native architecture. With sales on the Milk Run app showing double digit growth month over month, Woolworths then looked to tap non app users through building milkrun.com. To reduce effort in developing that transactional website, the Milk Run team leveraged the existing work they had done with their mobile apps, and concurrent with ongoing iOS and Android app enhancements, the new website was built, going from concept to launch over a period of approximately 5 months. Hopefully, you're starting to see the same themes that I see. Unifying your commerce solution, you get out of the way of new ideas and create opportunities to sell differently to your existing customers or expand into new markets and reach a different cohort. It's something I've been able to see for myself, watching businesses go to market to improve their station, sign on with commerce tools, and start to see the same kind of benefits that have inspired so much change in how people are building across the industry. And it's more than feeling good about trying something that's still kind of fresh. I've got some numbers on the screen here from Commerce Tools customers, Forrester, Google Cloud, and the Mock Alliance. Putting fast, robust commerce at the core of all the ways you sell, you'll be able to focus on innovating, getting features to market faster, reducing licensing costs, and seeing a better return on your TCO. The final point that I want to talk about is how, now that you're looking at a unified approach, you've got better opportunities to differentiate. We've already talked about having better connections between your store and your customer, no matter where they are. But you also have an opportunity to wield rich product data to create a better way to teach your customers about your products. Not only does this help with that increasingly finicky attention span I mentioned earlier, but it can help your customers solve their problems in new ways. For example, Bang & Olufsen is a brand known for their iconic consumer electronics. To help potential customers imagine those high-end designs in their home, they give you the ability to use augmented reality to drop their incredible looking speakers that you personalized in the app right into the living room and see if it goes well with that Chihuly chandelier your partner commissioned. When Bang & Olufsen launched their online flagship store, a unified global platform with a focus on digital commerce driven by storytelling, they saw a 60% increase in conversion rate. With the barriers between channels removed, you can get in front of trends and meet your customers where they are. Imagine with a connected printer in your fulfillment centers, you can upsell a subscription with unique QR codes printed on the packaging that you're about to have delivered. Simplify the process of putting rich product information out to social media and of receiving orders from the users on those platforms. And with the relationships you build in B2B, there are even more opportunities to enhance the buying process. Cargo Crew is a company that makes tailored, high quality uniforms and is known for exceptional customer service. So when they modernized their commerce platform, they took the same approach to facilitating customer orders online, easily spinning up new client specific portals without huge build costs and timelines, testing new features efficiently, and scaling quickly across multiple markets. This approach helped them see a 34% boost in online revenue. British department store John Lewis and Partners is also a Commerce Tools customer, having grown from a drapery shop on Oxford Street a century and a half ago to over 50 international stores and a robust omni-channel website doing billions in annual sales. That site actually launched in 2001 when they acquired buy.com, if you can remember that. And as you can imagine, even by 2013, when they had moved from a bespoke Microsoft .NET application to Oracle ATG, they had quite the legacy of online selling knowledge to draw from. By 2022, the evolution of John Lewis moved towards a unified digital platform, building with a product-led mindset with microservices architecture powering that unified platform. This has become the engine behind their apps, their contact center, partner apps, websites, and social selling. Previously, they averaged 10 releases a year, and the complexity of managing those projects meant outages and rollbacks. This modern arrangement means they can move quickly and evolve their solution without costly downtime or code freezes. In 2023, they had over 17,000 deployments. Now, as I mentioned up front, working at Commerce Tools has given me insight into companies large and small who, like Commerce Tools, are changing the conversation and changing how people think about selling and finding new success and growth as a result. It's been a pleasure to share some of that with you, and thanks to Veronica and the team at Commerce Next. I hope you found it informative, and if you like what you heard, add me on LinkedIn, where I sometimes post when the e-commerce muse strikes. In the meantime, I'm excited to hand the mic back over, and we'll head into polls, I think, is the next section.
That's right. Thank you so much for the great presentation, Matt. That was a good way to kind of tee up the whole discussion. We are going to be moving into polls. Yay. And the polls are our opportunity to ask the audience questions. So we're going to start with the first poll here. And the question is, which unified commerce services do you offer customers today? And you have a few options here, and you can select all that apply. The first one is buy online, pick up in store, BOPIS. Buy online, pick up from retail partners. So this is like Best Buy or Target. Curbside pickup, ship from store, same day delivery via Instacart, DoorDash, Walmart, whoever your partner might be. Endless aisles, which is giving online inventory visibility in stores. Buy online, return in store, or Boris, or none of the above if you haven't turned on unified commerce services. All right, it looks like, not surprising, the most popular answer is buy online, pick up in store. Definitely a solution that consumers want, and seems like is pretty easy to turn on, or at least is the first one that people turn on. Followed by same day delivery and endless aisles this time. Interesting. Okay. And then, of course, you have the group of people who are here. Oh, sorry. Followed by, I didn't even see this, buy online, return from store. That seems to be the second most popular feature offered. And then there's a group of you, about 20%, who haven't launched unified commerce. So you're in the right place. Hopefully, you'll get some great tips from our panelists shortly. Now, last week we asked the same question as kind of a prep for this discussion, and the results are actually almost exactly the same. Buy online, pick up in store, most popular feature launched by the retail community, followed by Tide, ship from store, and buy online, return from store. So pretty similar results to what we saw today. Now, the second question, and this is especially relevant for those who haven't launched unified commerce, but also for everyone else who have. What is the biggest challenge in achieving a seamless unified shopping experience? So whether you've launched it or not, what's been the biggest challenge, or what is the biggest challenge that's currently in your way? A is real-time inventory visibility. B is coordinating logistics across channels. C is organizational alignment. We know that's oftentimes a challenge. D, integrating technology platforms. E, coordinating cross-channel returns and exchanges. Or F, other, in which case, please specify in the chat. This is great. So the top two answers are organizational alignment and real-time inventory availability, which makes sense. I think those are kind of key. We'll definitely talk about both of those when we get into the panel discussion. And now our last poll question is related to next week's webinar on modern customer journey strategies and trends that are increasing conversion. For that webinar, the question is, do you agree that a test and learn incremental approach to UX is incompatible to inventing new, novel shopping experiences? So the options are strongly agree, somewhat agree, neither agree or disagree, somewhat disagree or strongly disagree. Oh, interesting. So it's tied between a neutral, neither agree or disagree, or a strongly disagree. Actually, strongly disagree seems to be winning right now, but with a slight edge. So it sounds like most people believe that you can create new and novel shopping experiences, but still have a test and learn approach, which is really interesting. Awesome. I hope that you join the next webinar. We'll be discussing that in a lot more detail. All right. It's now time to bring the panel up. We're going to have our panel discussion. Hello. How are you guys?
Hello.
Hello.
Well, thank you for joining. We got the chance to hear Matt present earlier today, so I want to have Trang, Jill, Kent, and Linda. I want to have each of you introduce yourselves and your role in your respective companies, and we could just kind of go around the screen. So starting with Trang and ending with Linda. Trang, do you want to start?
Sounds great. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me, Veronica. It's great to be here today. A brief intro on me. I've had the privilege of spending most of my career in retail. My experience has spanned mass to luxury, working at brands that many of you might recognize, like Old Navy or Saks Fifth Avenue. While the majority of my experience has been in building strategy, I actually joined Tapestry 5 years ago to lead e-commerce at Kate Spade. However, today I sit at the enterprise, so at Tapestry, supporting all three of our brands. So Coach, Kate Spade, and Stuart Weitzman really focused on driving our Omni strategy. And so really what that means is that we are really focused on putting the customer at the center of everything that we do. And my role is translating how that comes to life in the end-to-end experience across channels. So really excited to be here and a part of this panel.
Awesome. Kent.
Hi, and thank you for having me, Veronica. Kent Zimmerman. I'm with Shoe Carnival. So I've been in the digital and e-commerce space for longer than I will admit publicly. I have been with Shoe Carnival for about the last 11 years. I run pretty much all things digital, CRM, e-commerce. I run our loyalty program. And for those, I'm sure if we have stores near you, you know Shoe Carnival, but we're not in all states. So if you don't know Shoe Carnival, we are a family footwear retailer, 430 stores. We sell all the great brands you know and love, and along with private label footwear.
Awesome. Jill?
Yes, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm Jill Gorman. I oversee the digital consumer experience at Samsung Electronics America. And so that is within the Northern American subsidiary, as we are a global brand. And so I joined on about 6 months ago, so I'm newer in role. But as Trang has also spent most of her time in retail and e-commerce, I have as well. And so I have been more in the retailer space. I spent about 8 years with Target previous to this role. I've done time with Walmart too in my past, but I wanted to experience the brand side of things. And so now my role allows me the opportunity to do so. And so I have an amazing team across the merchandising and UX verticals. And so overseeing, like Kent, right, a lot of the loyalty, marketplace aspects that drive our business, in addition to just broader consumer-facing experiences.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jill. And last but not least, Linda.
Hi, everyone. Linda Sasso here. I'm a Senior Director of Digital Engagement at EPAM Systems. Similar to Kent, I've spent my career primarily in the CRM, loyalty, and digital space. But unlike the rest of the panelists here, I come at this from the agency, consulting, and system integrator background. So my role has traditionally been helping our clients, our brands, our retailers to define and design a future forward digital experience strategy and supporting technology, infrastructure and strategy that can help them meet their long-term goals. It's a pleasure
Wonderful.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you all for joining. And you'll see from we're going to dig into kind of everyone's experience with unified commerce, but we kind of intentionally curated this panel to really give the audience a 360 perspective on what it could look like, whether you're in a brand that has stores or in a brand direct that has a smaller store footprint. I think everyone has a slightly different experience. And of course, you have the service integrators and the technology partners on the call who've seen this across all kinds of retailers. So our goal is to give you, the audience, a taste of like what unified commerce could look like, depending on where you're sitting in the ecosystem. So I guess to help provide a little context for this discussion, I'd love to get the three brands on the call just to give the audience a high-level overview of your company's unified commerce offerings. Jill, I'm going to start with you on this one and kind of go in reverse. Talk about what unified commerce looks like for Samsung.
Yeah, happy to. Samsung is younger in terms of D2C e-commerce offering, right? And so that means that our unified commerce kind of maturity is still ongoing, and we're excited to continue to grow very much into that space with a lot of our retail partners, most notably, right? So we very much work with all of the big players. We've also launched more recently some strategic partnerships, which are really exciting. Those allow our innovative products to be showcased within their in-store experiences. And so we're continuing to learn what kind of that data integration model could look like for us in terms of future. More foundationally speaking as well, right? We're also beyond kind of the buy in store and pick up next day fulfillment priority. We're also very much leaning into our app and our loyalty programs to continue to drive that unified offering for our consumers. So much more to come. We're learning all the time, talking with partners and vendors with whom we hope to help us kind of throughout this journey.
Excellent. Kent, how about Shoe Carnival?
So I would say, like Jill, we are on a journey to unified commerce. I think we do a lot of really great things from what I would call omni-channel, and we've been doing them for a long time. If you know if you've been in any of our stores, you know it's like an open stock model. So the very first thing we did was, look, all of our inventory is in one of our 430 stores. So how do we expose that inventory to our customers who are shopping online and in store? And so that led to kind of that putting the operational pieces together, inventory awareness, BOPUS, ship from store. We've been doing ship from store for almost 10 years. And then I think that kind of was the building block for us to kind of go to the next step, which was more aligning pricing and promotions within the company so that we didn't feel disjointed to the customer. We didn't offer them a different price or a singular different promotion. We still do some one-off things like online versus in store, because I think everyone in multi-channel has to. But we've that was more just aligning as an organization, and now kind of that last piece of it, which is certainly more complex, is how do we rally around the customer? How do we create a customer-centric organization from what we call CRM, right? And how do we message the customer in a unified way to make sure that they understand that we just want them to buy from Shoe Carnival. We don't care if they come in store, or we don't care if they go online. So we still have some work to do to be what I think is unified, but I think we've made great strides so far.
That's awesome. And we're going to talk about kind of the differences between an omni-channel versus a unified approach. I think that's an important kind of distinction. Trang, how about you?
I'll actually build and maybe pick up where Ken left off, because the way we think about unified commerce is really about creating flexibility for the customer to browse, shop, purchase in whatever way he or she wants. Yesterday, I read a stat that half of shopping experiences start on one device and in another. I think my takeaway for that is that really, like, is it actually half? Because I thought it would be much higher than that. And so the reality for us is that the customer journey is fluid, right? And it's constantly moving between devices, between in-store and online. And our offering is about how we meet those expectations, which means that we define the offer quite broadly. And so similar to Kent, we offer our customers access to our endless aisle in store, both in retail and outlet. We're allowing customer payment flexibility in terms of choose your own path, the option to pick up in store, return in store. Really, it's about creating flexibility for the customer to choose his or her own journey, so that the nuts and bolts of shopping almost fall to the backdrop, and then we can focus on really the emotional connection rather than the actual process of shopping.
Awesome. And I think that kind of having customer at the center is going to be a key part of the discussion. And I want to kind of pull on that thread and actually pass the mic to Linda, because I want to take a moment just for the audience's purpose. Like, as a service integrator, tell us what you see are the key differences between unified commerce and omni-channel, and why is this distinction relevant in terms of helping clients find success in terms of unifying their online and in-store experience?
Sure. Yeah. It's interesting. Before even answering that, just reflecting on some of the audience poll answers and where they're seeing their biggest challenges. One thing across the board I could say we see is, before even digging into are we omnichannel, are we unified, there needs to be organizational readiness in order to achieve unified commerce. So foundationally, having that unified commerce strategy along with the unified commerce kind of platform in place is going to enable organizations to reach unified commerce. We work EPAM as a system integrator and global consultancy. We have a very large retail practice, work with a ton of clients to really dig into how can we achieve this. And I would say our learnings, we're seeing 4 key differences between omni-channel and unified commerce. The first is really around data flow and integration. So with omni-channel, we're really looking at integrating various sales channels, whether it's mobile or in-store, but everything is on disparate or separate systems. So while there is integration happening, there are still silos and inefficiencies in that structure. Unified commerce goes a bit further by ensuring all of the channels are connected through a single and centralized platform, which really can enable that real-time data flow. So that's the first point. The second is, are we customer-centric, or are we internal facing, and are we brand centric? And we heard this earlier. We really, for omni-channel commerce, really focusing on delivering a consistent brand experience. It's coming from the brand's point of view. But if we want to deliver a more customer-centric and customer-focused experience, a seamless and personalized experience, we really need to be customer-centric. And that is going to, from a mindset perspective even, allow us to achieve a unified commerce strategy. The third point, I'd say, is really just around complexity and accuracy. So omni-channel commerce can be very complex. Because of that first point I mentioned around integration, there's complications and complexity around needing to integrate multiple software solutions and systems, and then distributing across many different channels. And sometimes that leads us to less accurate data, which will lead to less accurate insights and how we can leverage the data to inform improving our experiences. The unified commerce approach can simplify the infrastructure by having a single platform in place for the various challenges, which will improve our accuracy on our data, improve our accuracy as we're gathering insights to deliver better customer experiences. And finally, and this was mentioned a bit, but it's really kind of the real-time data and real-time updates. Omni-channel commerce may not always provide us with just-in-time, real-time updates across all channels. So that can affect that customer experience, and typically that customer, is making real-time decisions. So we want to make sure that we are enabling them to complete that purchase quickly. Unified commerce can ensure more accurate real-time data and updates and synchronicity across the channels, so that we are delivering on customer expectations for delivering real-time transactions, and we in turn are getting that real-time data.
Awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like basically from what you said, it's similar to kind of what Trang and Kent said earlier, putting the customer at the center, making sure that regardless of where they shop, they can have a similar experience, but it's not just connecting silos, it's kind of layering and unifying all of the data and the organization to align around that. Is that a fair summary?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, you know, obviously creating a unified commerce experience is an evolution, as Ken said, a journey. And it's not always the easiest journey. We saw from our polls that our audience had challenges with getting inventory visibility and, of course, organizational alignment. Always a challenge in organizations that have been around for a while. Ken, I want to start with you. You know, what have been the biggest challenges that you've seen at Shoe Carnival, and how have you managed to overcome them?
I think number one with a bullet in terms of what represented the biggest struggle for us is data complexity. I think, you know, process, you know, you can define process, you can get people aligned, but in a company of our size, you've got a lot of data sitting in silos within the company. That data is generally normalized to do something completely different than what you need that data for, right? So, you know, we went down a path originally to say, let's just take every piece of information in the company as it relates to products, transactions, and customer data, and just make it available to every channel, like call center, e-commerce, stores, without any real understanding of why we might need some data and why we wouldn't need. It was just like the big bang, let's go. And we kind of found ourselves building this horribly complex Rube Goldberg machine that kind of worked, but it was impossible to maintain. And then you find yourself kind of painting yourself in a corner as it relates to data integrity, because you're constantly updating things in real time. So we've kind of gone down this path twice where we just blew that whole data architecture up, and started from scratch with kind of something that Linda mentioned earlier, which is just rallying around kind of a single platform that we said, this is the truth for customer data, right? And we are going to just pull in only the data that we need in order to act upon it from an analytics standpoint or from a marketing standpoint. So once we refined it that way, it became much more simplified in terms of how we integrated that data, and really kind of catapulted us to you know, being able to leverage some of that rich customer data. But it can be incredibly daunting when you're dealing with the you know, databases of, you know, transactions and products and so forth.
Yeah, data is key, and oftentimes difficult to kind of unify when those legacy systems are not designed necessarily to talk to anything else. That's awesome. Trang, how about you? What are you seeing at Tapestry? What are the challenges?
Yeah, so I feel like it's almost a build, Kent, on what you shared. So for us, I think it's been less about the data complexity and accuracy, which Linda, you had called out as well. I feel like we've got a unified database. We've got the integration of customer with product, with marketing. I think our biggest challenge has been around how do you convert that rich information into insights, and how do you cut through and get to the action? So we tend to spend a lot of time on diagnostics, right? What happened? Why did it happen? But getting to the so what, that piece tends to be the tail end. So we spend 80% of our time in kind of what's happening. We spend 20% of time on the so what and what are we going to be doing differently. And so that to me is the biggest opportunity. And that's how, for me, the connection to what Linda was saying, which is like, we've got we feel like we've got kind of command of the accuracy of the data, but how do we actually get to the customer-centric takeaways and how we're going to
Yep.
change what we are doing and the experience that we're creating using that information.
And I know your organization pretty well. If I recall correctly, you're using some AI tools to help you summarize so that not so much time is spent on that.
We are really excited by some of the emerging applications that we're seeing with AI, and we're absolutely testing and learning from that. But the ability to automate some of the synthesis, the visualization, even utilizing some of the predictive capabilities, I think is a huge game changer for us to just leapfrog and have that 80% or maybe 50% of it done for us, and getting to that tail end of what we're going to do differently.
Awesome. Yeah. And that's one thing that I think today's AI does really well. It's like synthesize information, get to synthesize and analyze information. It's kind of perfect for that. I want to kind of weave in an audience question because I think it's relevant as we're kind of talking about some of the challenges. Silke Flores, who's the director of digital products at Bath and Body Works, she asked, totally aligned that organizational alignment is critical prior to doing any major strategy change. But she wants to know how brands are seeing success in any particular strategy to get alignment and cascade down from, I guess, the exec level to the individual contributor level on a vision and an executional approach. Anyone want to take that? Kent, do you want to take this one first?
I mean, I can tell you how we've had some success. It really starts with making sure that your executive committee is aligned on the importance of being unified to begin with. Like, how important is it for the e-commerce site to have real-time inventory if a customer is trying to use the website to research before they go into store, right? How important are the CRM channels and email specifically to driving business to the store? I think sometimes retailers like ourselves fall into a trap of thinking, well, digital serves digital, but it really kind of stops there. Maybe it's got a small halo effect. And the reality is that digital has a huge impact on retail sales, right? And the presence of retail also has, from a brand awareness standpoint, has a huge impact on e-commerce. So I think if you start there, if you start from an understanding of this connectedness and this unification is incredibly important today in 2024 to the customer, they tend to stop thinking in terms of like, well, I own this channel, so what's in it for me, sort of thing.
Yeah. Any other advice?
I'd love to build on that, Ken. Completely agree. There needs to be executive alignment on the importance and what an organization is looking to achieve. But I do want to say, once that is in place, there also needs to be a reality check, right? And alignment on it's going to be hard, and there's going to be change, and there's going to be change internally that is going to impact the individual contributors on the team. So I would offer that it's not just about cascading down from executive to individual contributors, but there needs to be a two-way flow from an enablement perspective in order for the organization to truly embrace change and be prepared for that. Where our clients have seen success and we've helped them achieve that is by having a very targeted enablement strategy in place that is both top down and bottom up to make sure that individual contributors feel and truly do see that their voice is heard, that their day-to-day impact is minimized because they've weighed in on how the change is going to be rolled out. And it's not just a top-down kind of communication.
Yeah.
Linda, I was going down a similar path, right? Because Kent spoke to leadership driving empathy for the consumer, tops down, right? Because that's what I've seen my leaders do well, both at Target and at Samsung. It's about the organization understanding the problem to solve and really putting themselves in the shoes of the consumer. But then, as you said, Linda, that's all fun and great. But then you look at your roadmap with these things continuously coming through as part of the working team. The leadership group has also got to talk about what trade-offs and what are the prioritization angles that we all need to take. And it is in lockstep together that transparency comes through, because things change and they're meant to change, and we have to pivot ongoing. That's the beauty of the space in the industry that we're in, right? But it can't all just be additive. It has to be ranked and prioritized with the consumer in mind. So I've seen that trait come through very overtly, especially at Samsung.
The last thing I might add to that is around measurement, right? So we've got alignment on the customer strategy and who we're going after and why we're going after, and what that translates to in terms of what the enablement needs to be. How are we actually measuring the success against that? And I go back to the customer. I think it's often easy to say, we did this on the roadmap and here are the tactics. But if we are going to be customer centric, the metrics tie back to the level of loyalty that we have, the satisfaction that our customers have, what our retention looks like. And so I feel like strategy, as you measure how your performance, is really about whether you've got the right metrics.
Yep, absolutely. We have so much to cover, and I'm realizing time is like flying. So I'm going to skip around a little bit in our questions to I want to talk about fulfillment, since that's such a key part of unified commerce. And then I'm going to kind of move into mobile. So we have a number of fulfillment strategies that we essentially deliver in a unified commerce experience, whether it is BOPIS, curbside, shipping from store. How have your logistics and fulfillment strategies evolved to accommodate kind of this evolution? I want to start with you on this one, Kent, and then I want to have Jill talk about some of her past experience at Target as well. So, Kent, if you want to kick this one off.
Sure. So as I mentioned earlier, we've been doing ship from store for a very long time. We probably fulfill 98%, if not higher, of all of our orders from our stores. We have great systems in place. It's a well-oiled machine. It's the same system that kind of handles our BOPIS and our endless aisle, what we call shoes to use. So if a customer is walking through the store and they can't find a size or a colorway, we can find it for them. So that works fantastic. We watch the metrics on that. My focus right now is on how can I leverage that to get product to the customer faster, in a way that potentially could reduce our expenses. I don't have to tell anybody that the shipping line item on anybody's P&L is probably the biggest one, right? And it's only going to go up, right? I don't ever see UPS or FedEx reducing their prices from year to year. So we've been testing over the last year same day delivery, utilizing a handful of partners, right? Uber, DoorDash, and we've seen enough to know that we believe it's going to be an incredibly effective strategy for us to get product closer to the customer, get it there quicker, and cheaper, quite frankly, for us, right? Which, if we can do it cheaper, that helps we'll pass on some of those costs or some of those savings to the customer. So that's where our head is right now.
Interesting. Yeah. So you're taking advantage of the fact that you have a 400 plus store footprint and using them as almost mini fulfillment centers, and then finding the cheapest way to get products from those mini fulfillment centers to the customers.
Yep.
Awesome. Jill, I want to go to you for a second. You've had a lot of experience, Target's. You were at Target prior to Samsung, and they obviously have a very robust unified commerce strategy. Talk about how that business has evolved to kind of accommodate the change.
Yeah. I joined Target in 2018, and at the time, the investment was in our drive-up fulfillment offering, right? In addition to same-day, next-day delivery and order pickup. And so I actually joined Target to lead their digital experience and rollout of those kind of 3 fulfillment methods, which at the time were very much cutting edge, right? Because we had the store format to support that scope of work. Certainly, we had just acquired Shipt, which is an Instacart equivalent, right? And so, and as Kent said, we also at Target were very early on to determine that our stores were going to be our fulfillment center, right? Both from a profitability standpoint, certainly makes a ton of sense, but we, service, there are 80% of Americans who live within a few miles from Target, right? So the ability to do something like a drive up was huge. And so we were able to roll that out. And that was an incredible project that I was really proud to be a part of, getting product in under 2 hours most of the time, right? You don't have to leave your car. Your screaming kids can be in the back. You don't have to get them out, put them in the cart, right? It just unlocked such what is now a bread and butter offering for the Target just brand, and no one else can do it as well as Target. I stand by that, but the reality is it took incredible cross collaboration with our fulfillment, promotional, inventory network systems, right? And our investment within our data set and our tech stack to enable something like that, because you don't want to let a consumer down if they're relying on you to get sometimes 25 plus products in a drive up order, and they're excited and they're driving to store. The last thing they want is an out of stock notification, right? And so our inventory accuracy is and was top notch to allow that for the consumer. And so, yeah, a lot of investment in the store fulfillment network. I don't know, Kent, 98%, that's a pretty high number.
It's a big number, right?
It's a big number. That's very impressive. I think Target is definitely in the 90+%, right, of stores that fulfill product, but there's still a number of fulfillment centers, as you can imagine, because we actually offer the full store assortment through those offerings, right? You can get your milk, your socks, your video games, your lipstick, and that was really cool to see kind of the full order come through in that way.
And Jill, while I have you, because Samsung you mentioned is kind of newer to the whole like direct to consumer e-commerce game, but what I'm hearing from a lot of brands, especially in the technology space, is they're kind of looking at unified commerce, not just from their own kind of logistics and fulfillment operations, but more from their partner network. Talk about how you're working with partners like Best Buy to essentially be able to create a unified commerce experience.
Best Buy is a key partner for us to enable quick fulfillment, right? And so like all brands or retailers, we have smaller products. So think about our handheld phones, right? Those are much easier to fulfill in whatever way the consumer is looking to fulfill them versus a 98-inch TV, right? Or a bespoke refrigerator with AI capability. And so we tailor, and we're really working to build out the fulfillment offering at Samsung based on the product in question and the consumer location. But you are right, Veronica, it's with those big retailers with the footprints across the country that we need to lean into very much. And they obviously have a leg up in that way for a lot of us brands who are excited to grow our brand proposition and awareness with the American consumer.
Yeah, and just to kind of make it crystal clear for the people who haven't seen it, it's really cool. Like basically you can kind of shop the website, but then the way you would pick up in a brand store, you can pick up in a partner store. So you can pick up in that one, which is kind of cool. We're running out of time. I'm going to go over because I feel like we have to talk about mobile since that's the bridge between the whole digital and in-store experience. Matt talked about mobile in his presentation. How is the phone kind of bridging that experience for you? Ken, I want to start with you on this, and then I'm actually going to go to Matt because I know Matt has some great examples from some of the Commerce Tool clients, and then anyone who wants to add to that.
Yeah, so I think we've stopped saying mobile commerce. It's because mobile is so important to our business. We've been preaching mobile first for a long time, but I think it's finally ingrained now, right? It's 80% plus or minus of all of our visitors on the website are from mobile, right? Everybody that walks through front doors of our stores has a phone with them, right? So we really try to do everything we can mobile first. One of the things that I think we have had some success with, we've not rolled it out everywhere, but I think, if you're thinking like, how could we engage, what's the unified commerce example from a mobile standpoint? It's reviews and ratings in your store, right? Some of the big boxes have been doing it for a long time, but everybody here uses one or two or three different providers. So everything's predicated upon a UPC code. You've probably got, I guarantee you've got UPC codes on most of your products. So it's pretty simple to put a QR code on a little sign. Doesn't have to be all over the store. It can be on certain items. Could be funded by co-op, sort of thing. So I think that's a very easy thing to do. That is not a hammer looking for a nail. Customers want to see reviews and ratings while they're shopping, regardless of whether they're online or in a store.
Yeah, if not, they're looking for them on their phone through search, and they may find another provider.
Yeah,
so it's better that they go to your
100%.
site.
Yeah, right. They're going to go to Amazon otherwise, right?
Yeah, exactly. Matt, what are you seeing? I know you talked about some of the cool mobile apps that your customers have done. What are you seeing in this space?
I love the way that Kent talks. Don't even think about it as mobile anymore. We joke at Commerce Tools. We've got folks who their mobile purchasing device is an Audi e-tron, right? They're actually just buying from the car. But if you think about mobile, almost in the same way you think about like building accessibly, right? If you make things accessible, whether it's a website, whether it's a pedestrian crossing in a city, everybody benefits. And if you have this idea of having this unified approach, everything you want to do will be better because of that, because you can tap into choices that you've had to make to support interesting mobile purchasing things, whether it's on a phone, whether it's on a Samsung refrigerator, whether it's a bus calling into a shop saying I need an oil change. So I think it's almost abstracting away the device itself and thinking more about how your customers can interact with you in whatever way makes sense.
Yeah, I was just at Home Depot because it's going to be a hurricane here, and everyone was using their phone to find what they want in those in that huge store. I mean, just in those big store formats, it's your map to finding where the inventory actually lives, which is just amazing, all the ways that people are using it.
I love the Home Depot app. Yeah.
Same.
It's a big fan base. Any other final thoughts before we wrap up? I feel like we could have done this for easily another half an hour, but we're definitely running out of time. All right. Well, I want to thank you all, Trang, Kent, Jill, Matt, and Linda. Thank you for joining us and obviously sharing your insights on unified commerce. We will be back here next week. October 16th, we have our webinar on modern customer journeys, journey strategies and trends that are increasing conversion. We look forward to seeing everyone soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.